Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today we wanted to take up another new technological concept, which is Web3. Now, I know I've made a bunch of videos on Web3, but I want to get somebody that actually writes code on a daily basis. I used to, I don't do it anymore. Tanay Pratap used to work at Microsoft and now has moved out to run his own company. Tanay, what do you think about Web3? Hype, scam, or potential?
All three. Web 3.0 is a hype. It's definitely a scam, and it has a lot of potential. So here is how I'm going to break it down. It's a scam because people are losing money, quite evident, and people are making different kinds of amounts. So a scam has always this, right? Someone would benefit 100x and someone would lose 100x. So it's a scam. We know all of that. Established. Moving on. It's hype because people have not figured out yet on a coding basis how would you replace Facebook or Twitter on Web3. Tell me one thing, why would you pay any amount, any 0.000 gas fee to post a tweet, to reply to someone, to comment, to do Reddit? You would not, right? So we have not figured out the end user aspect of it, the masses aspect of it. So definitely there is a hype, right? I think open web is where we have already moved on, right? From 1990s when Amazon started putting the APIs out, Microsoft, you name any big company, GitHub, everybody is doing the API game. So people want the ecosystem around their data to be strong and ecosystem apps to be built around the data, right? So that's already there. I think that's where the core potential of Web 3.0 stands, where Web 3.0 would be a server upgrade. And if you look at it this way, I think it has a lot of potential. But we have to separate the hype and the scam to look at what the potential is.
I feel like Web3's initial goal was completely different, right? It was to take down the banks.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking about pre-Web3, I'm talking about Bitcoin, not Ethereum, right?
Crypto.
Bitcoin in general, right?
Right.
Bitcoin sparked this thing. And then suddenly when Ethereum came out, their intention was, hey, let's convert this from just a financial asset to something that has utility.
Right.
But I feel like what Ethereum really ended up solving was the login system. Log into a website using your MetaMask, using your Ethereum address was what they really solved. It's a private login compared to login with Facebook or login with Google or whatever. It's something that everyone with MetaMask has. It's in your browser extension. So no password entry every single time. And I feel like it's like native banking.
Right.
So today, if you log into a platform, then you need to put your card details. It's painful. Right? So I think Web3 took a lot of shortcuts and just made it easy. There's no government saying, give KYC, this, that. It just wasn't there for a very long time. So I feel like Web3 solved those issues, but I also feel like solving those issues also come with problems. The first and most important problem is when you connect your wallet to a random website, you better sit and read every single letter in that website, because even if one letter is off, you, buddy, are losing your money.
Yep.
The number of scammers, sophisticated scammers, who are making lookalike websites with small changes, man, infinite.
Right.
The number of people who've created bots to kind of ruin, the other person's chances of getting into a project are infinite.
Right.
So Web3, I feel, has brought out the best in humanity. Good projects, donations, crowdfunding billions of dollars, and obviously funding things like art. And it's also brought out the worst. Scammers, scam websites, really ingeniosity on both sides.
What is that called? High and dry or raise and leave?
Hump and no, that's not the word. Pump and dump.
Yeah, pump and dump.
Pump
It's
and
not,
dump. Sorry.
Yes.
So point is, that's the thing, right? Like humans in general are ingenious. Right. We are greedy in the right situations. We are fearful in the right situations, and we love taking advantage of other human beings.
Right.
All human beings, right? Like you might say something else on public. I'm honest enough to say this is how human beings are. And I try my very best not to be that kind of human being. But when you're anonymous, nobody knows who you are, no repercussions, no legal entity.
No regulations.
No regulation. What stops you?
Right.
So that's my big problem with the crypto space right now. I love the technology. I love Web3. I only think that the people around it, some of the people around it, not all the people around it, are corrupt beyond measure.
Right.
And also are greedy beyond measure.
No, I agree. Technology has promise, but the scam part of it is what will drive its adoption away, because people would soon realize, right, that there's no promise, there's just There's just hype.
And I feel like if you really want to get mass adoption, you have to centralize.
Agreed.
Right? I don't see a way around it. Because see, look, you would like it when you send money from, say, person A to person B, that if by mistake you send to the wrong address, you're able to call the bank and say, hey, I made a mistake, can you help me out?
Right.
In Web3, there's nobody to save you.
Right.
And a lot of people say this is not a bug, this is a feature. Fuck those people. Right? People are busy, people make mistakes. It's the intrinsic part of being human.
Yep.
We need a better UI for the end user to get it to mass adoption. And that's only going to happen with some centralized party actually, intervening and saying, I will take responsibility for this. Because you can't, it's like socialism, right? Or communism. You can't take a billion people and say they will all decide by themselves. Eventually, there are central actors, and these are like dictator type actors, and they make all the decisions. For example, in the last fork in Bitcoin, most of the people who decided were the Chinese miners, believe it or not, because they held like a lot of the stake in Bitcoin. So I feel like eventually we're just building a centralized system instead of 2 or 3 banks owning the system. Now it's like 15, 20 people owning the system. We still like the same old things we liked 200,000 years ago, right? So I feel like with Web3, the tech has gotten much better. And I feel like eventually that will end up in the hands of banks. And it'll end up in the hands of the old people, the centralized people, and they will end up doing a better job.
Yep.
Right? And obviously, we've moved now from proof of work to proof of stake. So we are, as Web3 community, it's constantly evolving.
Right.
My fear is that it's going to evolve into a centralized format because Solana is partly centralized, right? Ethereum is purely decentralized, and we know where that got us with like tons of gas fees. And people are saying, hey, Ethereum is going to do L2 and Ethereum 2. And I understand all of that, but I also see adoption of Solana. Solana is the 4th most popular crypto, and it's not fully decentralized. So I don't know. I feel like we're reinventing the wheel.
It's going to be another UPI, man. If it has to become UPI, it has to be centralized. And otherwise, people will burn their hands and then move away from a very promising technology which we have in our hand right now, I think.
Yeah. And a lot of concepts around decentralization. And by the way, guys, especially the crypto people are going to come and belt us.
Okay.
Because the stance I'm taking here is an anti-decentralization stance.
Right.
Actually, I'm taking like a mid-level stance. There are pros in decentralization. There are pros in centralization as well. Centralization allows you to give a very nice UI to the end consumer because you have control over the entire process. In decentralization, you don't have control over the entire process. So the experience of the user is very jittery.
Right.
Today, you want to swap 2 currencies. It's so difficult.
Right.
Especially if you want to go from the Solana to the Ethereum chain, right? You got to go through multiple different things. So I feel like we really need to understand the shortcomings of decentralization and also the benefits. Lots of benefits. Like I'll give you a con, right? You heard of DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations.
Right.
The idea is you have 100 people or 1,000 people in the community, and they run the community together or they run the project together. I've never seen that happen in history. There's something called Price's Law, right? In a company, the square root of the number of people do 50% of the work. Square root of the number of people, right? So you could have 1,000 people, or let's say 9 people for mathematics sake. Only 3 people do the actual work. The other 6 people are just, they're doing the other 50%. But when you get to numbers like 100, you take the square root of 100, that's 10. 10 people are doing the actual work. The rest are just, faffing around.
Okay.
It's like running a public company where you're an early stage company. Imagine you're running a company now.
Right.
Imagine you had 10,000 shareholders, all telling you every day what to do. And you haven't found product market fit yet, right? You've reached some revenue, but you don't know how to reach 100 times that revenue.
Right.
And that might involve lots of big pivots.
Right.
It might involve changing the entire strategy. You're going to piss off 10,000 people.
Definitely.
It's not a responsibility you want to take early. And I have 40 investors on my cap table. I think I know what I'm talking about. And the thing with DAO is, the going thesis is I'm delegating my control to another person, maybe the leader of the community, and he's going to do good for me. Right? There are plenty of ways to accomplish that. Right? That's a traditional company structure, and I'm very sure that the regulation around traditional company structure and the ease of investing, especially with platforms like AngelList, just getting easier.
Right.
Just getting easier. It's the technological advantage. The humans are the same on both sides of the equation.
100% agreed. By the way, we are just simplifying things for the sake of it. We understand how all of this works, but we can't talk about all the implications. It's just a high level view which you need to understand is, if you don't remove the hype and the scam from something promising, you end up not having it at all. And we want to have crypto in our lives, right?
Yeah. Awesome. So how do they get in? I think Ethereum is Solidity,
Right.
and Solana is Rust.
Right.
Where is the opportunity in terms of like where do you work if you're a crypto developer?
I
and how
would
do you start?
See, I would say for a front-end developer, for a web developer, nothing has changed, right? And I'm getting a lot of these messages. Should I start with crypto? Should I start with Web3 now? I would say don't. Do not start with crypto. Do not start with Web3. Start with the basics because 99% of jobs are still with the basics right now, right?
Yeah, hedge your bets.
Yeah, hedge your bets, exactly. So 99% is there. That 1% also would need your 99% of understanding because all you are doing is writing your data instead of a database on a distributed ledger. So all of this is anyway abstracted via ORM today when you're writing to a database, right? So it does not change anything for you. So do not jump ships for Web3. Do Web1, do Web2, and then just spend like 30 minutes, 1 hour, few hours here and there, and you would understand Web3. Don't try to jump ships so early.
Awesome. I think the best approach is experimentation.
Yep.
If you're doing Solidity, try a small project.
Right.
You're doing Rust, try a small project.
Right.
And if there's some opportunity that comes in, I don't think these are full-time roles, by the way. I've seen some companies hire full-time roles, the crypto companies, the NFT companies, but I feel very few of them.
Right.
And that's going to improve, that's going to evolve. But I think the best opportunity right now is to freelance with traditional companies who are experimenting in the Web3 space, right? And maybe do like a freelance project with them, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Get their existing infrastructure and allow them to, experiment in that space, and you learn more about the space.
Yep.
You like it, jump in full time. You don't like it, take a pause, take a breather, go back to the old school way of writing code or the old school frameworks. And then maybe when it's really time for Web3, you can jump back in.
Definitely. Do not jump directly to Web3. If you miss steps, you might fall down. So do not do that from a programmer perspective.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Bye.